So today's topic is one that I've been avoiding for a long time. I touched on it a little bit in one of my videos this week, and that is about estrangement, family estrangement, in particular our own children that have decided to go no contact with us. And the reason this has been so difficult to talk about, because for 30 years I thought I was the only one. And I wrote a book, and I didn't expect everyone to read it, or if they did, to understand what led up to this, but it's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I've owned everything that I feel that I could have done differently, or I did in ignorance, and I've apologized. I've done everything I knew to do, short of just begging for someone to come back into my life. And the main reason is, and we talk about this in this video and interviewing Dawn, the main reason is because everyone has their own life to live, their own traumas to deal with and heal, and their own way of doing it, with or without the support. I personally feel like everything I have gone through in this life is so that I can develop more empathy for those that would be following, that I ultimately always run into, no matter what I've experienced in this life, that is trauma-based. I have met others going through the same thing or new at it. So I found myself kind of being a mentor or some kind of person to let them know that they're not alone. And I want to continue doing that, especially in this topic of being estranged from your own flesh and blood. So it's a long interview, and you don't have to listen to the whole thing, but if you are curious as to why this is becoming such a phenomenon today, even though it's as old as the beginning of time, it's still, it doesn't make the hurt less. It just means that we have something to remember while we're here on earth. And for me, what I finally came to the conclusion is that I needed to remember who I am before I became a mother, a daughter, a sister, a teacher, all the things that I noted before. So before I became any of those roles that I played in life, I am a human being, and I say am in present tense because I always have been and I always will be. And so that's what this topic is about right now, and I will see you at the end. So today's video is going to be a little bit different, not just about bantering partners, but we're going to have a serious conversation. I have been avoiding it for a while on my public page, but because it's becoming such a hot topic, I'm going to assume that probably at least 30% of my followers on my page are experiencing this topic to one level or another. And Dawn has worked with a lot of people in therapy because of this, and the topic is estrangement. Family estrangement, whether it's your kids estranging from you or going no contact, or family relatives, a sibling. There's so many different factors that go into it. So I'm going to let Dawn talk about some of the things that he would advise his clients to do in order to be able to heal from this wound, because it definitely is a wound. So Dawn, you want to start?
Sure. Can you give me some content, please?
Okay, so what percentage of the people that you see actually have their trauma based in childhood?
Percentage of people have their trauma based in childhood? The majority, I'd say probably 95% or higher, without a doubt.
How many?
But then again, you have to define what is trauma. I mean, it's like, that's just like a word to me.
We had this conversation a little earlier about how we're living in times that, even though estrangement has happened since the beginning of time, but it almost seems like a phenomenon. to me and to a lot of people, especially all you have to do is type in the keyword family estrangement or children going no contact or whatever, it is. And I know there's a spiritual take on that where we're living in the last days and it's going to happen more than it always ever has. Either way, it still produces the same results, the same hurts, the same, just continuing the loop. You know what I'm saying? Like the loop that is not actually helping us to, get to a point where we can see our family as someone that we can relate to. And what do you think about that?
Nothing.
So how would you advise your clients when they come to you with this pain?
Yeah, and I don't mean to make light of it, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, everybody's different, so it just, what you come to me with and somebody else comes to me with is going to probably be completely different. So, like I said, without content, I don't have an answer for you, to be honest with you, because everybody's different. So maybe if you can ask me more of a specific question, maybe I can answer it better.
So earlier we were having the discussion about adult children. And I hate to use the word children because it sounds like they never grew up, and some of them probably didn't.
Probably not.
They're in our family, they walk among us. So, but these adult sons and daughters that we did our best to raise and weren't among the percentage that actually abused by the standards, that we, have come to know that real abuse is neglect. And I took those workshops, for my teaching.
Well, you have to define what that means, because what it means to you might mean something completely different to somebody else. So it's like, I don't like to put labels on things because labels just never work.
So it all started out about talking about the therapy of today as opposed to what we were used to in the back in the day. So the therapists today are introducing some of our adult sons and daughters who are going to see them.
Can I stop for a second?
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean today and what we had back in the day. I don't know what that is. Well, can you define that? Because
sure. Back in the day, the community was our source of support, our source of therapy. It could have been church and a pastor or a teacher or somebody, a wise counselor. Today's therapy seems to have taken a turn in the wrong direction and using terms that are now getting put back on us as parents who did the best we could. The terms they're using are like, you were parentified, your mother is toxic, your dad was a narcissist, things like that. So they're throwing around these terms that actually have clinical diagnosis, but they're giving it to our young adults.
Well, then I'm going to have to stop right there, because who gives it a clinical diagnosis? I mean, I go back to the whole thing. Labels. Labels, I think, are bullshit, to be honest with you. I mean, they may help define what a behavior might be. However, it's a label, and nobody wants to be labeled, because I think all that does is causes a person to retreat more into themselves and become more defiant. So why use labels? And, and to go back to what you said originally, I don't think it's any more pronounced today than it was back in the day or whatever. I think it's just that in today's so-called modern age, you have the AMA that puts together the DSM 3, 4, 5, 6, hell, I don't even know where it is now, but every year they come up with a new definition, a new title to create a new symptom, to create a new condition, so they can create new drugs so you don't have to feel anything. That's what I think. I think it's all kind of nonsense, and I think that people perpetuate, especially in a lot of these groups, how fucked up everything was in their life, and it's like, all right, well, what does that serve? I mean, how does that serve a useful purpose? Always looking for somebody to blame. It doesn't really serve a useful purpose. Yep. So I'm always, in my work, I've always looked for a resolution. Yeah, maybe dad did something bad, maybe mom did, maybe the cousin, maybe the big brother, the big sister, maybe the cousin, maybe the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, maybe the pedophile down the street or the babysitter, who knows, I don't know. But I just look at it this way: shit happens, and we need to deal with it the best way we can. But always continuing to blame somebody for the way they were, what they did to you. You know, my philosophy has always been, well, let's step back for a second. And there again, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying that any kind of mistreatment of anybody is okay. That's it, because it never is.
No.
That said, I can have to step back, you know, because it's something that, you know, that I learned in therapy years ago, you know, when I was studying it, and something I applied hundreds and hundreds of times, you know, with individuals, you know, over the years. It's kind of, you know, you want to sit there and complain about your mother? That's fine. Well, let's just kind of reverse the role for a second here. Why don't you be the mother, and the mother can be you, and you're raised with all the life experience that she had with her father, her mother, maybe her aunts and uncles, maybe her brothers and sisters. And if you were raised the same way, would you have treated your daughter the same way that your mother treated you, had you been her? Would you have treated her any differently?
Probably not.
Well, you say probably not, but 99% of the time, the person goes, no, I wouldn't do that. I go, well, then you're lying. So listen to me, I'm going to say it again, but I want you to pay attention. If you were raised exactly the same way as your mother or your father, if it was a guy, it doesn't matter who it was, or who the, you know, the so-called perpetrator of abuse is, if you were raised with their mother, their father, all their environmental conditions, exactly the same, you were them, would you act out the same way to your own family and children and friends? Would you act the same way?
I heard that question a little differently phrased earlier. Would I probably do the same thing? If I were my parents being raised by their parents, that again, if I were them, yes, I would have done the
There
same
you go,
thing.
and that's really it. And if you can come to recognize that, or if anybody, I'm not, you know, pointing this at you, it's like this is a generic. If people would look at that and look at, you know, we're all products of our environment, you know, then you get off the pity and the victimization train. Find out what you can do to heal. Now that doesn't excuse, like, if somebody did something horrible to a child. You know, you get somebody who does something horrible to a child, you know, they got gallows for that, and they should just, like, put them out of their misery, send them to prison, and let prison justice take care of them. However, that still doesn't solve the problem, you know, because they were mistreated to begin with, and they're just acting out in the only way that they know how to. It doesn't make it right, but when you look at that way, at least it can give you some understanding on why they behaved the way they did. Now, for some people, they can get better. You know, they didn't realize, you know, the pain that was, you know, laid on them, and they're just acting out in the only way they know how. And other people, they can take that and they can heal from it. And other people, they're never going to get better. They're just going to be, you know, the rest of their life, everybody's going to pay the price for, you know, the sin that was created, or that was given to them. And that's the way those people, they're basically, you're not going to do a lot to help them, and they, you know, they need to restrained one way or another, you know, from society, because they're going to keep creating issues. But for the other people, and I always enjoy it when I have a client that I work with, and I maybe something similar, I bring their attention, and it's like, wow, that's what that was? I go, yeah. They go, damn, I didn't know that. I guess I can do things a little bit differently now. So everybody, you know, even has a different response. And I find that people who, when you even bring that to their attention, they still want to, you know, lambaste everybody else and still play the victim. They never want to get out of that. Well, you know, that's kind of a weird trance that they want to be in, and they want all the attention on them. They want everybody else to be wrong, and they want them to be right. So they're in the playing that right and wrong game. You're right, I'm wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, whatever, however that goes, you know, whatever kind of weird mental loop that does it, nothing gets solved. So, you know, and another thing, you know, along that line, one of the things that really, I think really got me to thinking a lot, you know, because we think that we live, not we, but if you're watching this here in America, you know, people used to think that America was like perfect and had all the answers, and it doesn't. It has very few, to be honest with you. So when I started traveling internationally and doing, you know, workshops and entertainment and working with people one-on-one, you know, the people, like you and me, just regular people, you know, they're good people. They, you know, just bad things happen to them, and they just want to get better. Human beings just want you know, they have three needs: love, affection, and approval. If you get love, affection, and approval when you're younger, then your chances are you're going to grow up and you're going to be a pretty good, well-adjusted individual. If you didn't get your needs met as a child, then you're probably going to act out in some bizarre way. So to loop that back, people around the world are usually pretty decent, and the people who rule the world, run the world, those are the people who never got their needs met, never wanted to get their needs met, will always be a victim, and they become psychopathic leaders that control the world. And here we are.
Yeah.
Those people you're not going to fix. Those are the people that need to be voted out of office, kicked out of office, removed from society. All those people, they should be the ones who get locked up permanently, and let the good old people that, you know, that really just want things to get better be in charge. I know that was kind of a rant, but
well, that's fine. That's what this is for. So, I mean, some people sit through things that are a couple hours long, and we have nothing but time, and I don't want my audience to think that all we do is go on little road trips and banter with each other about dying in the desert without water and things like that. But we do have serious conversations, and this seemed like a day for a serious conversation. I have been getting up the courage, even after 30 years of doing this, kind of what I thought was alone. I've been getting up the courage to talk about my own situation, maybe with people I meet at the market. And it's baffling to me when I did join support groups for this family estrangement issue. It's baffling how many thousands are in that group, like 20-some thousand. And I will link the go-to channel that I do because of the person who started it, and it's Candi Morris, but I'm going to link this video to her and let her tell her story. And I like to see my channel as more as like a resource hub for people to go and know. I'll link to Dawn's website or whatever channels that may help you address other issues. But today the topic is estrangement and what it does to all of us as humans. You know, like people getting ghosted. Like, what's that all about? Like, I joke about it. I say, did I die and somebody forgot to tell me? Because I sent, I sent a text to my kids every once in a while. I'm thinking about, something that reminded me of them. And I really not being a helicopter mom, never have been. So it just baffles me. And I know a lot of it goes back to divorce, parental alienation. I didn't know any of this was a thing. And I didn't know that this was all part of a spiritual battle either. So I wanted to do this video once I knew I wasn't going to be in a victim mentality.
I think really it's a spiritual battle, to be honest with you. I mean, you can look at all the things, parental alienation and this and that, and it's all good and fine, but I think at the core, I mean, what's the core? I hate to use that word therapist, it's such a stupid word. But
yeah, you break it up and it's the rapist.
Yeah, that's really, it's pretty fucking lame.
But they have raped our kids' minds. They've raped our sense of dignity in a lot of ways.
What do you mean they? Who's the they? What do you mean?
The therapist, and I put it in air quotes because to me that's not real therapy, and they just, I don't know.
No, I gotta change it.
TikTok therapy.
No, because that's too much of a generalization. You say the therapists have done it. No, they haven't. I know a lot of really good therapists and a lot of really good counselors and a lot of good life coaches.
Definitely not ruling that. That's why I'm asking you to talk, because I know you're not one of them. So that's what this interview is about.
Yeah. Well, I've come to
common sense.
I've come to the conclusion over the years, and I think a lot, especially since COVID, because COVID really screwed up a lot of people's heads. Big time.
Yes.
And I think that's, for a lot of stuff like that you're involved in and all the parental alienation and estrangement things and the groups that you're in. I think that for how horrible COVID was, what a big lie that was on the human race, and how millions of people were actually mass murdered because of the COVID shots, which is proven now. It's not like speculation.
And that was another topic that can
and if you still think it's speculation, if you still think it wasn't planned, then you know what? Don't call me. Call a psychiatrist. Get some drugs, because I can't help you if you're in that mindset. But no, it was a big conspiracy, and it was something that was done to us, and I believe it's a spiritual battle. And here's why: if you look at everything that goes on, you know, you look at, it's like, okay, well, why do they allow chemtrails in the sky? Why do they spray poisons on our crops? Why do they put crap in our water? And all that kind of stuff. Why does that kind of stuff happen? Peace, love. Hey, did you get those little things I sent you on your phone? Yeah, they're pretty cool. So, sorry about that. I'm talking to my bro. So, where was I?
Why do they do all these things?
Oh, the
And
spiritual
then we're going to
battle.
go down another rabbit hole that
It's not really. It's you know what? I don't really think it's much of a rabbit hole.
well,
I think it used to be a rabbit hole, but I think that anybody who's really honest with themselves, if they look at the evidence and everything that's really going on, I think you'd probably come to the same conclusion that's a spiritual battle. Now, look, I'd say the majority of people out there believe in, whatever, either Christianity or the Muslims or the Jews or whatever it is, the Bible, whatever it is. I think it's very, very clear where they said that, the ruler of this planet ain't God. Ultimately, yes, but currently the ruler of the planet is that little naughty little devil that they call Satan or they call Lucifer, whatever it is. So actually, he was given domain of the planet for the present time. So if you look at everything that's going on, you can probably come to the conclusion that that's why everything is so messed up. We got Satan; he rules everything. You've got demonic spirits running around loose. You've got entities that take control of people's minds and bodies. And I know that for a fact. Doing the work that I do, I've worked with a number of people who've had demons inside of them, or they've had spiritual entities inside of them that I've had to deal with appropriately. So that's not conjecture. That's just the way that it is.
mm-hmm.
So these little creatures, are here to do one thing. That's to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what the Bible says that Satan's job is, to kill, steal, and destroy, and that's really about it. So if they can cause disillusionment with your children, with your spouse, with your significant other, whoever, yeah, we're going to have issues without a doubt. So, I think that, if people just take their eyes off of, the medical system, take their eyes off the clinicians like me type of system, just put your eyes on God. I think you're going to find the answer if you do it right.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I mean, that's what I've come to conclude, that because everywhere around the world that I've gone, and I've traveled the world numerous times, and I've talked to people in every religion that you can imagine, and yeah, I think we've all come to the same conclusion that it's a spiritual battle. Even, I remember once I went to Oman, and I think I was going to go there for a couple of weeks. I ended up spending a month for various reasons. But I used to go every night and play billiards with this one guy. He was a Muslim dude, but he spoke like 12 languages, and one of the most probably well-studied and educated people I've ever met. And but he, gave me a real history on the Middle East and the 12 tribes of Israel, and the Muslim world, and Christianity, and and the Jews and everything else. And that was pretty eye-opening. He always tried to convert me to become a Muslim like Cat Stevens. I just said, I'm going to hang out with Jesus. That's all good. We can get along that way. And it was all good that way. Nobody was mean with each other. Nobody was trying to kill you because you were a different religion. People just had different ways of looking at reality without the. You look at the strife that we have today. With this foreign country wanting to go over there and do mass genocide on people. And don't mean to get into politics, but I think that this a horrible thing that's going on over in the Middle East, and how this country can even support that is beyond me, except that we go back to the spiritual battle.
It all goes back to that.
That's
and so,
my belief.
Just talking about estrangement, I finally got to the point where I actually saw that, and I put this in the caption for my last video, that estrangement is really that we've been estranged from ourselves. It's been holding a mirror up to me to see how I have left, and there's an author, new friend of mine that I connected with, who wrote, "The woman who left herself behind." I'm going to put a link in there. Okay, so I'll put a link to that particular book, and I just don't want to drop links right now. It's like, I will put links to things that we've talked about, but basically in her book and interviews, she said that we have left ourselves behind, and probably women tend to do it even more so because it's built into our nature, especially when we raised children in our generation and stay-at-home moms, and our whole identity was wrapped up in being a mother. So we didn't realize, or a wife, and before that a daughter, and going into an early marriage. So we left ourselves behind in the sense that we didn't pour as much energy into ourselves as we did into everyone around us. And so I had to learn the balance of what it meant to really start paying attention to myself. And that felt so unnatural. And when I started doing that, it got taken by the people closest to me, that all of a sudden I'm a narcissist, and I'm, selfish and self-centered and self-absorbed. And so it's like, as hard as you try to prove that you're not, that you're just, now it's time to focus on your own health, focus on your own needs. You try to prove that, but it doesn't do anything when you've actually helped create the monster to begin with. Pouring yourself into your kids when,
Well, why would you feel that you have the need to prove otherwise?
I don't anymore. So that's why I have not done this. I mean, in the past I would write songs, and those are song therapy. I'd watch movies, and it was movie therapy. I'd talk to my close friends, and that was friend community support. But I also did not feel that everyone could totally understand this unless they walked in these shoes. And now I want to be a support for anyone that feels alone. So, I can tell you how I came out of it, but I didn't want to even do this video until I knew that I wasn't playing victim anymore. I'm actually thankful now for everything I did go through. So thank you to those who estranged me. Thank you to those who abused. Thank you to all the things that I felt were unnatural for who I am. It helped me find Amazon Woman and helped me understand and just develop more empathy for people that were going through
Amazon Woman?
Amazon Woman.
What's that? Oh.
Amazon Woman.
Oh, okay.
It's like I found the Amazon Woman within me. I grew out of being a people pleaser. I grew out of caring too much about what people thought.
Where's your magic bracelets? You're supposed to have on both hands, so you click, click, like what's her name? Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
But you know what? That even goes back to, when you talk about the kids and stuff. We don't really have any control over them. We have some control, but I was a single parent for years.
Yeah.
I went through the whole enchilada. So if folks out there think that I am not familiar with the program, trust me, I'm very familiar with the program.
Well, like parental alienation. I mean, you helped bring enlightenment to whatever state you were in at the time.
It was in the state of
Yeah.
Montana, and
Yeah.
when I was going through that, my attorney didn't believe in parental alienation. I fired him on the spot. And then it was kind of cool because the more I got into it, the more I understood it, because even fucking therapists, that you're commanded to go by a judge, didn't agree with it. So I had to do a lot of real deep research and talk to other people that understood it, and I finally wrote a letter to the governor, and I actually got a letter back thanking me for bringing the awareness of parental alienation. They created a parental alienation day in Montana because of the work that I did.
Really? What year was that?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I saw the little piece of paper I got from the governor here a while back. It must have been around like maybe 2005, 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there.
So I didn't even know that term. I didn't know what it was that I was dealing with. I just thought it was me. There was a lot of shame attached. I'm thinking I can't even tell the story to new people that I meet because they don't know who I am. They didn't see me interact with my kids. They didn't grow up with my kids. So it was really hard for me to share this. And then a few years ago when I was living in Oceanside, before we moved out here. And I woke up to something I fell asleep to on YouTube, and it was all about parental alienation and how it affected the adult kids, sons and daughters. And it's always related to divorce. It's always related to whoever has the advantage, the more money, or somehow got custody of the kids, even though it wasn't legal. So I happen to be in the unnatural position of having my kids, removed. And there was no drugs or alcohol or anything involved in my life. I was even told by their father that I was the best mother. So like, what do you do with that? So my book tells all that background story. So and I just didn't know that was a thing until about 2022, I think, the year 2022, and I went from 1998 or 95 all the way all those years, not knowing what it was and how I could deal with it. So yeah, it's a thing. If you've been divorced and you have the disadvantage of having people lie about you and twist any possible truth, then I own whatever I need. I reflect and reflect and reflect and ruminate. If I know I'm wrong, I will own it. I will be the one.
Yeah, you could ramble on about this all day and it really doesn't go anywhere. So what's the solution? That's probably a better question.
Okay, once you've also gone through everything and you've done everything you can to communicate with the other person, and you've even gone to therapy with them to help support their healing, when you've done everything that you know in your own conscience that you could humanly do, then you have to move on and say, okay, what part of myself did I leave behind? What do I need to attend to? And yesterday I talked about that, I think, in my chakras, about being balanced, or was it the other day when I did another video about balance in life? And when something is out of balance, your body will tell you. You'll have symptoms in your body, or you'll have to see a hypnotist to get to the subconscious reasons why. And you know me. You've been around me for 10 years, and you know that how much I research, like natural ways to heal things. But there's certain things that I'm like connecting the dots to. This has been buried in my body, where even though I thought I moved on, there's been a lot of things buried in my body that probably will always hurt a little bit, but
well, stop.
Bringing awareness to it.
Stop.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of a weird program that will probably always hurt. Why would you give yourself that program? It's like a script. Why would you want that?
Because I'm not claiming that. I'm not claiming full healing, because as soon as that happens, you know what happens. You're going to be tested by Satan.
What I'm saying is that it might be a better thing to say, I'm really looking forward to a day when this is completely clear and I'm working on it each day.
That might mean I have a death wish, because I joke about it, but I'm thinking, I don't know. I really don't know. Can I feel it and be okay with it? Yes, that's where I think I've healed. I can feel it now. Acknowledge it, realize there are days that it's going to trigger, I'm going to get a trigger, seeing people, Mother's Day, spending time with their kids. I'm going to get triggered.
But that's still the same thing.
But I can look at it now.
I
can still look at it and go, okay, you know how good it feels when we get acknowledged. At least two of the three have acknowledged. So 2 of the 5, 3 or 5, I don't know. I have 5, so at least a few of them have acknowledged birthdays and Mother's Day, but you're kind of left, like when they call you for Father's Day or your birthday. Doesn't that feel good? And when they don't, guess what we hear? Like, yeah, they didn't call me today. It's like, of course it's gonna mean something to you. And if we pretend it doesn't, then we're lying to ourselves, so that's my take on it. Did I talk too long? Of course, there's 2 different factors here, male, female. How we view life is going to be a little different too. So there are so many factors involved in this whole.
Well, I'd rather, my thing is, is like, what are you moving towards?
We're moving towards Well,
Okay.
my take might be a little different than yours. As being humans, I think that it's
No,
experiencing.
what I mean is, what do you want out of it? I mean, if you can't get the peace that you want from your children, what are you going to do?
Well, I don't. I don't look for that piece. They used to be my Achilles heel, and I used to say that all the time. That when they thought I was putting other people first all the time, it was actually they were the only ones that could really hurt me. The only ones. Even my parents
You're
couldn't.
still not answering my question.
So the question is, what do I hope to get out of it? I just hope to be able to remember something without feeling it as deeply as I used to.
What's wrong with feeling it as deep? If you're feeling it as deeply as
Well-
you used to, no, let me finish. If you're still feeling it deeply, it's because you still have not cleared it. You're still dealing with it.
That's what I said. What I hope to get out of it is that when I do think of it, that it doesn't hurt like it did. It's more like I'm looking at my former self in third person and saying, yeah, she, referring to her as a she, like you do, like address that child in you, like that's, if your parents didn't meet all your needs, what would you do if that was your child, the child in you? So that was
That never happened to me. I was spoiled as a child.
I could probably agree with that, but that came along with being the baby too. And then I happen to be the oldest of 5 siblings, so that birth order does definitely play a role in this.
Well, you know what? Back to where this whole thing originally began was,
Family
about,
estrangement.
family estrangement and all that. If you're not getting along with your family, get along with yourself. Because if you don't get along with yourself, you're not going to get along with your family to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
So find something that you really like. Find meaning in your own life, for your own personal life, the things that mean something to you, that has value for you, not anybody else. Because, eventually your kids are going to go away, your grandkids are going to go away, or they're going to come and go away, whatever. Significant others, they come and go. I mean, it's just the way it is. So you have to find value in who you are as a human being. If you're living your truly authentic life, being who you want to be, doing your own thing, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks, to be honest with you. It's kind of like, and that's not being a narcissist. That's just like
Oh,
going,
no, of course.
that's like, this is who I am. If you don't like it, there's the fucking door. It's okay.
I'm finally getting there. You hear my external, like when I have to vent or say something, that I do, I have come a long ways. Let's just put it that way. I have come so far that I'm so proud of myself, even if nobody else is. But I have come a long ways, and I really started being able to shine more for who I am, because I've always been a little different in the family, as a daughter, as a sister, as an aunt. I broke the mold for all of it, including grandma. So I finally got to the point where if I tried to be your image of a perfect grandma, or your image of, I would definitely be schizophrenic, multiple personality disorder, because I got 5 kids and 10 grandkids, and they'll all have a different perception of how I should play that role of grandma or of sister or of daughter, or they all had a different perception of how I should play that role. And I've had this discussion with them and saying, I wouldn't even know who I am anymore if I had to try to please every one of them. So I decided it's much easier just to be myself, as quirky as I can be. But I found somebody to match my quirkiness. Ta-da.
That it?
That's it. So here's to more quirky times and to
With
learning.
that say, to recap, it's a spiritual battle. You're never going to get everything you want. Be happy with who you are. Find value and find the goal, direction in your life that pleases you.
That's right.
And when you're happy with yourself, then you can share your happiness and your love and your joy with other people. That's really about it. And if somebody mean comes up to you, just look at them and say, huh, isn't that interesting? And then just turn around and walk away.
That's how you know you've evolved. To
You
the
don't have
fifth
you
dimension.
don't have to participate in people's madness. The only time I might participate in somebody's madness if they want to get really weird with me.
That's what your guns are for, right?
That's what guns are for, yeah. Welcome to Arizona.
He can joke like that, and I just laugh along because I let him be who he is in my world.
That's what guns and LSD are for. Talking about LSD, I'm not
We'll
going to
save
get to
that for another topic. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Thank you, Dawn, for being here to talk about family estrangement and how strange it is to all of us. And if you do need support, I will link some things down on the bottom, including Vera Knight's book, The Woman Who Walked Away from Herself. Vera, I hope I did.
Well, I will add one
botch
thing
that
real
up.
quick.
What's that?
That for those folks who are listening, if you're thinking about counseling or therapy or life coach or whatever thing that is that comes up for you, just go to my website at sleepnow.com, send me a message, and I'll send you a free audio program and a little booklet that I wrote. It's called The 8 Dynamic Principles of Conscious Living Through Self-Hypnosis. And I give that to everybody before I see them, because I'm not really interested in seeing anybody. I mean, I will, but it's like, I created this, so it's like, here.
To empower others.
This is for you. Here's my gift to you. Go through it. Work through it. It's only 8 chapters, and I wrote it so even an 8-year-old can understand it. Do the work in there. If you still don't get it, then give me a call. I'll be happy to work with you.
And you do Zoom meetings with people just to...
I do Zoom, and then I just do a lot of people where I see them standing in front of me until they start crying like a little baby. I didn't know that. Well, now you do. And now go off and be happy.
Yep.
All right. So that was about it. Yeah. So thanks for
joining
thanks
us.
for the conversation.
Yeah, you'll see us in the next video, and maybe we'll see you in the comments. Peace out. So that's it for this video today, and they're not all going to be this long. Some of them will be fun, but I just want to remind everyone to stay curious, keep saging, and enjoy your life no matter what, because you are not alone, and you'll always have your team on your side, and that would be even your angels, and I call mine Team Joanne. So just hang in there, not every day is going to feel like the end of the world.